He takes the timeout. They're out of timeout. Technical foul. Technical foul.
It is 4 o'clock on Monday, December 11th here in Los Angeles. My name is Mark Titus. Sitting across from me is Tate Frazier. Sitting somewhere over there is our producer, Kyle.
Cam.
Tate, I want to start today's show with some thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers go out to Seth Davis. The first court storm of the year happened this year in college basketball.
In the dark.
In the dark. As we know, Seth Davis hates this. He hates seeing the kids having fun. Someone's going to get hurt out there. Someone has got hurt before. A reporter broke his leg at Iowa State a few years ago. It was devastating news. Shook our industry. Those of us who cover college basketball for a living, this was our nightmare. I mean, this is what we all are scared of is when guys storm the court. It's like, that could have been me. And so Seth Davis is leading the charge for court storms. He had to sit there and witness Boston College storm the court on his alma mater, no less, the Duke Blue Devils. So I just wanted to start the show with a moment of silence for Seth Davis.
Okay, Duke lost. And wow, congratulations to the Blue Devils, the number one team in the country. They fall in Chestnut Hill to Kai Bowman and Jerome Robinson. And those two guys, for people that do not know, grew up North Carolina fans from the great state of North Carolina, and they get redemption. I mean, if you had told those kids, Kai Bowman committed to play football at North Carolina, decided to bet on himself to go play basketball, and then he puts up almost a triple-double, 30, 10, and 9 on the Blue Devils, gets a big win. It was a beautiful Saturday to wake up. The first game in the ACC, the Blue Devils go down. Now they're last in the ACC. And Boston College, I mean, are they the best team in the ACC right now?
They are.
That's what it says.
I can't believe you haven't said it yet. Boston College listens to the pod. They come out of the gate. And what do they do, Tate? What do they do to slow down the Blue Devils? Go ahead, say it. You can brag.
Double Bagley.
They double Bagley.
Just double the man. Sometimes you need two hands on your bag, and sometimes you need to double Bagley. And that's what they did.
Boston
it was
College
so beautiful.
Doubles Bagley. They go zone, which isn't quite doubling Bagley, but it's kind of the same thing. Like you just kind of pack the paint.
Just pack the zone.
Tate may have been right. I'm flustered right now because Tate may have been right.
I'm having so much fun. It's been a great college basketball season. We've been doing this good guy, bad guy segment, which you guys, we enjoy everyone reaching out to us and letting us know how they feel about each one that we picked. But, looking at what Duke went through this weekend, I mean, it was just tough. I know that they were upset. Grayson Allen, I called him the Kira Sedgwick of the season. I thought he was the closer. Turns out you take that C away, he's just the loser. And he doesn't score any points down the stretch. I thought he was their guy. I thought that's what he was supposed to do. Trey Duvall took some ill-advised shots down the stretch, some threes. This guy shoots 17% from three. Maybe drive, maybe pass it to Bagley.
Does he really? He's only shooting like 17%?
Yeah, and then when he threw it in the paint, Bagley got doubled and he threw the ball away for some bad turnovers.
Yeah.
We should say that the main stretch of this game was Duke was up 4 points. They go down. This is like 3 minutes left to go in the game. Trey Duvall takes a Jason Tatum shot.
Questionable.
A Jason Tatum
best,
shot, which is like, it is my time. I am the leader of this team. He doesn't throw it to Bagley. He misses. Jerome Robinson, who goes 5 for 5 from three, hits a three, cuts it to one, and then he comes down and hits another three to take the 2-point lead, and they ride this thing out. I just can't. It was one of the most fun Boston College wins I've seen in a long time. And the last time I had fun watching Boston College was when Tyrese Rice put up 46 on Carolina. So congrats to Boston College.
I think the last time I cared about Boston College was Jared Dudley era, which is a long way away.
Yes, this is like 2006.
Yeah, so it was Duke was 8 for 30 from the 3-point line. Boston College was 15 for 26. So I mean this was obviously a case of Duke losing. I think more people are more interested in Duke losing than treating Boston College seriously as a ACC contender or anything like that. So I'm going to focus my commentary more on the Duke. Like, cool, Boston College. They had three dudes. It was basically like a three-man show. Their guards were hitting all the threes and everything.
Yeah, we should say I didn't bring up Chapman, but he was the other guy that had 22.
But I'm more. You know me. You know you. We're more interested in Duke. Let's just be honest. We're
Titus,
more interested
you love
in Duke. I do love Duke. So I want to. The question now becomes: is this cause for concern for Duke moving forward? And my answer is no. they need to fix these things. They're terrible defensively, but they've been terrible all season. They've been terrible for years defensively, like at this in November and December and half of January. This is their MO with the one and done era. This is, by the way, this is everyone's MO in the one and done era. Like the only one and done team that was great defensively was Kentucky in 2012 because they had Anthony Davis, and Kentucky in 2015 because they had seven footers. I mean, who else has like had a team full of one and done guys? I'm sure there's probably one other Kentucky team that was good that I'm forgetting, but I don't know. It feels
but
like,
not really.
It feels like this is the same problem Arizona's having, is that DeAndre Ayton doesn't know what he's doing out there defensively. Like he has the physical tools, but he doesn't know how to guard ball screens. And that's Duke. They just don't know how to communicate. This is exactly what happened to them in 2015. They sucked. They played Miami. They got blown out against Miami in January. Then they started to play some better defense. They hit the ground running, and when the state tournament came around, they locked dudes up. Justice Winslow was great. I sort of think that's going to happen again here. I hate to say it, Tate. I'm sorry, but
there's no apology necessary. I will say this about this Duke team. I mean, there's the two sides of this. So Kay comes after the game, and he's contrite. He comes out. He says, "We knew we were playing one of the best backcourts in the ACC. And they showed themselves today. They played their hand perfectly." That's what he says. But what he's really saying is what in the you-know-what is going on with this team. He's going to run them to death in practice. Yep. They're going to figure this stuff out. And that's what you mean by that. Like, Kay is now, he has everything he needs to really light a fire under their ass and just make them run up and down.
These coaches love. That's what college basketball is awesome. College football, you lose like this, your season's over. College basketball, you almost strategically lose like this. Mm-hmm. So then now Kay can go to the locker room and be like, "See, I told you guys you're not shit, and you just lost to Boston College." Now,
Grayson, get here. Come here, Grayson.
So, the defense is terrible. The one thing is the offense is, as you said, it has been a little disjointed all year for Duke. It's a lot of my turn. And that was kind of what doomed them. Is I even tweeted, I said, like, everyone predict your Grayson Allen dagger 3 because you feel like it's just coming. But Duval wanted to be the guy. Mm-hmm. Did he hit one, or was it Trent that hit one?
Trent hit one.
Trent hit one to go
yep.
4. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They do. That is something that definitely happens with teams this talented. Is there aren't a ton of possessions in college games, and every single one of those guys is the best player. Like, really, aren't they all like the best players of their class? Like Duval was the best point guard. Trent was the best shooting guard. Bagley was the best center or power forward or whatever.
And Carter's like the number 2. Yeah.
So like, not only are these guys like the best players on their high school teams, like every single one of them have been told, "You are the guy. You will be the guy when you get to Duke." And that's just something they got to figure out. But
I think the most interesting thing from that Duke team is that he like cut the rotation down, which this is a K thing. He finds 7 guys, and that's who they are. That's who's going to play. And he had been sort of playing like Jack White a little bit, Alex Okano, who we love. And if you haven't seen this guy, just go Google him. He's hilarious. He only played like 2 minutes.
You are going to hate him, yeah.
Delorier played. I mean, he had like 8 points, I think. He actually gave him a little bit of a spark off the bench, but they started to press. I mean, like Boston College was answering, and they were scoring with them. And as soon as that happens, especially for young kids on the road, they just started trying to press. And I think Duval did that a lot in that game. But my biggest question with Duke right now is, like, once ACC play hits, are they going to do the regular thing where we're not trying to win the regular season?
Of course, that's what they always do. They're gonna. I'm sticking by.
So we're going to go from an undefeated season that we were all discussing to now we're going to let this team finish 3rd in the ACC and still say that they're the number 1 seed. I mean, that's crazy.
You and I were not discussing undefeated.
Oh
season.
no, I'm just saying the national pundits.
So coming into this year, I didn't think this team was as talented as last year's team. I think. Having seen what I've seen now, I still don't think they had as much raw talent as last year's Duke team had. I think they fit better together. Like they have the more potential. Like they have a point guard. They actually have guys that all play natural positions. Grayson kind of knows what his role is now. I think that's certainly the case with this team. But I was actually kind of bummed that they lost. I'm going to be honest, not because I'm a Duke fan, but because you and I have both been saying that they're going to lose to Miami, and now I'm a little worried that the Miami game's in jeopardy because that was the destiny. They were supposed to be undefeated going into Miami, and if they were undefeated going to Miami on January 15th, they were going to lose by 40 at least. And now I'm not.
We
really
would have bet the podcast studio on them losing by 40 in that game.
Now I have my concerns, but no, they're not going to win the ACC. This is what they do. They're going to suck for mid-January. That's what it is. I still think they're going to that Miami's going to beat them, and that's going to be the turning point.
Can we talk about the actual court storming?
Yes,
itself?
please.
Because Grayson Allen, he's obviously a target, and when all these players, all these students run on the court, I mean, all the players are, you got to be safe. You got to be safe for those guys. Of course, Seth Davis. I don't want anyone to get injured, especially journalists. But they all run down. They turn the lights off for whatever reason. No one knows why that happens, but it does. They turn the lights down, and then they press them back up. And as soon as they do that, somehow with no light, 5 security guards get around Grayson Allen. He has a black eye. This happened in the game. He gets a black eye in the game. That's not related, but he does have a black eye. It's funny. And he gets surrounded by security guards, and as if they had already had this plan in place. Like they knew that, hey, if Boston College wins this game, we got to get around Grayson and get him out of here and usher him out of this game. I've never seen anything like that.
So do you think they were protecting Grayson from the fans, or do you think they were protecting the fans from Grayson?
I think they were protecting Grayson from just starting to kick people.
Yeah, like
I think Duke hired.
Yeah,
they were just like, we got to make sure Grayson doesn't start fighting people with his feet.
It's like when they got the Hannibal Lecter thing. They got him strapped up and they got the mask on him. They're trying to just wheel him around.
It's like Jackie Chan doing Rush Hour prep. He just starts kicking everything.
You can't trust him. Yeah, that's a smart move by Boston College. I thought the court someone brought it up to me, and it's a great point that when the lights went out, you could see all the students with the phones in their hands. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that, about the kids with the phones. Like back in my day, you just storm the court. You're trying to start a mosh pit. You're just going nuts. You're trying to
mean like them filming stuff?
Yeah. Like they're just kind of they're half-assing it. They're just kind of walking out there. I'm trying to put this on my Instagram story. Or
I thought you meant they were using their phones for light. I was like, what do you want to do? No. Use a lighter?
No, I'm saying because the lights in the arena went out, you could then see how many screens were on, and the kids were just slowly walking out with their phones up so they could videotape it rather than committing 100% to the court storming. You see what I'm saying?
You don't get the experience. It's a secondhand experience.
You wouldn't know this, but as someone who played, I don't know if I've told you before, I played at Ohio State, and we won Big Ten championships. I mean, they stormed the court all the time when I was there because we were very good when I was a player. And back in my day, they just ran on the court and we celebrated, and then they lifted people up. Like I don't know if I told you this. I got one time we stormed the court, people lifted me, put me on their shoulders, chanted "Mark the Shark, you're the best." All that's kind of irrelevant, but that did happen. That's a fact. And that was the focus was let's get crazy, let's get wild, let's start a party. And I'm worried about the kids these days, Tate. Where's our mindset? Are we worried? Are we trying to get Grayson Allen to punch us, or are we trying to get a couple retweets to check out this video I took on my phone? I don't know.
Well, the thing that you do is you multitask. That's what this generation is about. So you film yourself punching Grayson Allen. You do both.
That would be good.
That's what you should do.
That's a good call.
I'm glad Grayson Allen got away safely, though. All jokes aside,
there was another huge upset that might not have been an upset with Kansas and Arizona State. We're gonna get to that in a second, but first I want to talk about. Let's crack one open. Oh, I want to talk about our sponsor here.
That's the best crack since crack.
Coming through, dropping the bag. Today's episode of One Shining Podcast is brought to you by Arizona Iced Tea, a top 10 tea option in America for over 2 decades. Since 1992, Arizona Iced Tea has been brewed here at home in the heart of Arizona, New York City. Whether your drink of choice is the Arnold Palmer Light, the Mango Lime Ricky, the Joltin' Joe Espresso, or the all-new Tangerine Tornado Twist, there's peace of mind in knowing that a big can of Arizona will always be just 99 cents. And now for the holiday season, Arizona Iced Tea is introducing Peppermint Duffel. A brand new flavor exclusively for One Shining Podcast listeners. Just go to Arizona Iced Tea's deliciousandrefreshing.com and enter promo code Drop the Bag. That's Arizona Iced Tea, 23 ounces, 99 cents.com with promo code Bring Back Teed Up. Arizona Iced Tea. It's always tea time. Delicious, Dave.
When teabagging goes right.
We love it. Let's get to the most important segment of the week. It's the thing that's taking America by storm. People cannot get enough of this, Tate. They love it. Good guy, bad guy, Kyle guy. You want to start with Kyle guy?
Let's start
You're
with Kyle
excited
guy.
with Kyle guy.
So with Kyle guy, we got to talk about. I mean, obviously this West Virginia game. That's first off.
Did not look great
in the first half.
In the first half, yeah.
He's a second half player. He hit 6 threes in the second half. But he needs 17 shots to get 18 points. He's averaging 16 points per game this year. People are getting all over him. He's got a lot going on. But he's not down in spirits. If you go to his Twitter feed, the guy's making jokes about Rocky IV and Jack Salt looking like our boy Ivan
Drago.
Ivan Drago. I almost called him Irvin Drago. That sounds like a nice guy around the corner that sells Audis at the and he grew up in Germany for 5 years. Cow guy. Good for him that all that's happening. And then he also had a nice little press conference moment with Isaiah Wilkins. Isaiah Wilkins was talking about how you need to go to the restroom. Kyle Guy does like the fifth grader, like giggling about it. He's having a great year, a lot of charisma. Kyle Guy, congrats to you. We're keeping an eye on you. But that was my Kyle Guy update.
That's the Kyle Guy update.
Yeah.
So really just West Virginia beat Virginia and Kyle Guy
hit some threes, 6 of them.
He tweeted once and he laughed in a press conference. That's the update. That's all right.
Kyle Guy, he's doing well.
Cheers.
That's what he's up to.
So good guy, bad guy. Why don't you go first? We're going to start with our good guys of the week. You go ahead, go first.
All right, well, first off, let me explain this. Good guy segment. Most people are coming, they're saying Duke loses. Tate Frazier is going to say that his good guy of the week is Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski, the head coach of the Duke Blue Devils.
So
I don't know
hold
if you
on,
know that.
you're setting this up like you're not going to pick Coach K.
I'm setting this up like you have to understand the segment, and I know that we've done a lot of explaining here. The segment is a good guy because that means if this man were to leave the program, what you would write and what you would say was that he was a good man that worked hard and put the program first. He's a good man. He's a good guy. He's good.
But no one's going to say that about Coach K.
Nobody's going to say that about Mike Krzyzewski. He is not a good guy. He is not a good man.
I see what you did.
In my opinion. So therefore, he cannot be a good guy, and therefore, he is disqualified from the segment. Moving on, my good guy of the week, Andy Enfield, a man that I believe is a good guy. He is a good guy of the week for me. USC has taken a tumble. They started this year as the darling, the sleeper, the dark horse. We watched him play quite a bit. We watched the Oklahoma game when they played USC out here in Los Angeles. They made a nice comeback. They made a nice run. Boatwright's decided this year that he is trying to get drafted as high as possible, and he's trying to take like fadeaway jumpers everywhere.
What the hell happened to Thornton?
Yeah,
does that dude even play anymore? I mean,
let's be honest. Duke defectors are my favorite breed of players. Guys that leave Duke, they go to another program.
You're a Duke defector. Need I remind fans?
I would never apply to Duke University.
You grew up in the butthole of North Carolina. Like right outside Durham, right?
Not the butthole.
Is that not? Stop me when I'm wrong, Tate.
North of Durham, Henderson, North Carolina. Beautiful place. 252. Shout out to y'all.
Right. I'm saying you defected. You had the Duke. Am I wrong?
Duke doesn't care about us. We always knew that.
I'm trying to compliment you by saying you
and I'm trying to get away. I'm trying to defect as it's happening. Duke. I don't even know why we're talking about Duke
I asked you about Thornton. What happened to Thornton?
Duke, he defected from Duke. He went to USC. We've seen Jabinajay, who went to Syracuse, make
What's
it work.
What's his name? Say it again.
Jabinajay. I used to call him Jabinji. I used to think that was his name, but it's Jabinajay. He went to Syracuse, did well. Simi.
Are we sure it's Jabinajay?
It's Jabinajay.
It's not like Benajay? The G's not silent?
No, it's Jabinajay. I don't care. Whatever. He defected from Duke. He was great at Syracuse. Simi obviously went to SMU and was awesome. So I'm thinking to myself, Chase Jeter, there's no shot that he's going to be good. So I'm not going to discuss his situation. But Derek Thornton goes to USC. What do they need? A point guard. I'm like, he's going to sit out a year. He's going to play in the program. He's going to get right. He's going to get everything together. No, he doesn't even play. We haven't even seen him at all. I mean, Elijah Bryant he was the best hope in that in the Oklahoma game. He hit a bunch of threes, but their whole team just
Elijah Stewart.
What do I call him? Elijah Bryant, Kobe Bryant's brother. Anyway, the whole point is to say Andy Enfield is having a down season.
Yeah, they've lost 3 in a row. Is it now?
3 in a row, and then you had the SMU loss, which was pretty bad. I think a lot of people are surprised about how SMU is playing, but they're also surprised that USC is playing as poorly as they are. You have the Tony Bland situation, which we've talked about quite a bit. I think we talked about this before. When you're in a situation where you're good, you're untouchable.
Right.
But when things start to go awry, you can become Tim Floyd.
They have. This is borderline disaster for USC. The FBI. If they start losing, I don't know. They start losing a couple more, Tate. The FBI's coming in.
And for people that forget, Tim Floyd and Andy Enfield got in a little scuffle in 2013, and Tony Bland was a big part of that scuffle. I think it was in Battle for Atlantis. They were like arguing at each other.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and they were talking about the UTEP, and he was like, that guy has to wake up in El Paso every day. I get to wake up in LA. And, sometimes when you do stuff like that, it comes back to haunt you. So that might be the case here for Enfield.
Yeah, that's
good guy of the week.
Is he a good guy then? So I don't know.
I still think that he's going to get away as the good guy. I think he may even walk away from the program due to stress.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Who's your good guy?
So there were a lot of options. I could have picked Mike Bray. Lost to Ball State at home.
Such a good guy.
Very good guy, and he is a good guy. Love Mike Bray. Very good guy. Lost to Ball State at home last Tuesday, I want to say.
He embraces T-shirt Tuesday. I mean, that guy loves it.
A lot of fun. Mike Bray is the only guy with Duke connections that Tate actually likes. That's how you know. And it's, I mean, does he really have Duke connections?
It's tangential Duke connections. Yeah.
Mick Cronin was another choice. I had him.
He's another one that may be DQ'd from the good guy.
He's definitely DQ'd from the good guy. So I'm going to take him out. And then Richard Pitino had my eye on, but he's sort of got
I just spit my Arizona iced tea out when you said Richard Pitino. There's no way he's in the good guy.
But to me, there's only one obvious option, and it's Bill Self. The Kansas Jayhawks, not good, Tate. They've lost 2 in a row, 2 home games technically in a row. Because the Washington game was technically a home game because they played it in the Sprint Center. They threw the big Kansas logo. I think they played it there because then they can host NCAA tournament. Like you have to play one game there if you want to host NCAA tournament or something like whatever facility hosts. Mm-hmm. I think that's why they did it, but I don't know. They've lost 2 straight to Pac-12 teams, and the Pac-12.
They're the Pac-12.
They were not supposed to be very good, and Kansas is making the Pac-12 look very, very good. Arizona State hangs 95, was it? Was it 95, 85?
95.
Kansas fans are leaving early.
Shot 50% from 3.
Allen Fieldhouse was flooding before the game. A pipe burst. I'm not going to blame Bill Self for that, but it's just like a state of this. It just reminds me of when the beam fell from Assembly Hall when shit was hitting the fan for Tom Crean. I mean, these are just like omens. And Bill Self won a lot of Big 12s. In a row? Is this the year? Is he finally starting to...
if you saw Bobby Hurley with that pipe that he pulled out and cracked himself, then congratulate him on that.
So Bill Self's got the bad guy and the good guy going on. You know, we spend Fridays talking about the Billy Preston mystery,
of course.
Which we'll update people on Friday. But he's a bad guy, but he's also kind of a good guy right now.
If he went down right now, he would be considered a good guy. Yeah. And that's why he is a good guy.
He's just like a quintessential, like he's lived in the Midwest his whole life. You know, he coached at like Illinois, didn't he go to like Oral Roberts or something? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he goes to Kansas. Like he's just a Midwestern. He's got that paunch belly. He's got that hairpiece.
And he's very beloved too, because even when he pulls in like these big name guys, like he has no problem like putting Check Diallo on the bench and telling him he's not going to play. So people are like respect him. They're like it's his program over the player.
And even if he is cheating, no one really cares that much nationally because he's only won 1 national title. He's been to 2 Final Fours, so he's not like Coach K just churning out. You know what I mean? Like he's not.
And it turned out to be an underdog story because when Mario Chalmers did that shot, it was against like Derrick Rose, who was the #1 player in the country and everything. So everyone was like, "Oh my God, what a play! What an amazing underdog moment!"
They had the underdog, and then also Cal gets busted, or Derrick Rose gets busted for the SAT thing. So now, like even in retrospect, people are like, "Oh man, thank God Bill Self won that one because we didn't have to."
They saved us from having to give them a vacated title.
So Bill Self's got the good guy vibe. Kansas, not to brag. I've said Kansas is trash like pretty much all year. Like I'm going to stand by this, that when we were watching the Champions Classic, we watched Duke, Michigan State. Duke kind of pulls away, like wins kind of comfortably. It was a close game. Like not the Michigan State looked bad, but like Duke sort of had it in control for most of it. And then the Kansas-Kentucky game happens and it's like back and forth and people are getting excited and they're like, whoa, that was the game of the night. That was like Kentucky kind of game. And people come away from that game thinking, man, Kentucky is really raw, but like they showed me something tonight because Kansas is good. That's a good Kansas team, and that's a good. I don't think either one of those teams are good. I didn't think
it was
either
actually
one of those
just really bad basketball, and there were 2 bad teams playing each other.
Yeah, for all we know, like those could have been the 30th ranked team and the 38th ranked team playing in a close game.
Let's do this. If it was Iowa versus Nebraska, what would we say? Not a very good game.
Not a good game. That was not a good game. Like what has Kansas done to prove that they are one of the better teams?
It was the Syracuse win. That's what everyone jumped out. But then they lost to a 2-3 zone the next game against Washington to basically take all that away.
Which leads me into the Arizona State thing. And Arizona State fans who are just foaming out the mouth waiting for us to finally, we have to address Arizona State. We are going to. But first I want to say that Arizona State like jumping up in the polls is directly because I get the sense that it's because of them beating Kansas, not because people are like excited about them. You know what I mean? Like if Miami we'll use Miami as an example. If Arizona State just went on the road and beat Miami, who's undefeated, ranked very high, and they beat them by 10 at Miami,
would drop to 22.
Right.
And Arizona State would be 18.
Right. Exactly. But like Allen Fieldhouse has built this mystique around it that it's almost like you're not playing the team Kansas, you're playing
The
Allen
mythology
Fieldhouse.
of the Fieldhouse, yeah.
And so if you go in there and you beat Kansas in Allen Fieldhouse, no one gives a shit who's wearing the Kansas jerseys. They're just like lose their minds and they're like, this never happens. It's like, well, look at the team they have right now. Maybe this is going to happen this year.
The ghost of Fog Allen just gets over the other team, and they have no choice but to lose.
I tweeted this thought. I'm standing by it. Kansas has the Ukraine maker who we've determined. So here's the problem with Kansas. We determined early on that the Ukraine maker is an X factor and not the glue guy. And LeGerald Vick is the glue guy and not the X factor. And that is backwards because on every other team, the white guy is the glue guy and the black guy is the X factor. But I noticed this early. Mikhailuk is the X factor. He has to play well for Kansas to beat a team with a pulse. And that's very confusing for a lot of people. It's confusing for Bill Self, which is why these last two games, Mikhailuk has taken on the glue guy role. He was like 0 for 1,000 until like the final 5 minutes of the Arizona State game. He had like 6 assists. I don't want Mikhailuk having 6 assists. I want him making 6 threes. And LeGerald Vick had like, what do you have, like 28 against Washington or something? And then he was scoring a ton against Arizona State. We don't want him doing that. We want him playing defense. We want him being a 6'4" power forward and rebounding. That's what we need.
And catching lobs from Devontae Graham, basically.
I mean, I could fix this right now. Just tell them, listen, I know you're a white guy, but we need you to be the X factor. Vic, I know you're the black guy. We need you to be the glue guy. This is very confusing, but let's just try it and see what happens. And
this segment is sponsored by Elmer's Glue, the best glue around town.
So that's the Kansas situation. I don't think Kansas. I mean, they need big guys. I saw they brought the tight end from the football team in.
They're doing everything they can. Bill Self is calling everyone. Anyone Preston, that wants to play.
We're going to update the Billy Preston mystery here on Friday and see what they got cooking there. But yeah, I mean, Kansas. I don't think they're a very good team. However, I do think Arizona State's very good, and that leads us to let's talk about the bad guys.
My bad guy of the week, Mr. Bobby Hurley. And I know that you may think that's very on the nose and very funny, and he's just coaching his ass off. No. Should we remind
people that Bobby Hurley played at Duke in case lest anyone forget that? Okay, I just wasn't sure. I mean, I wouldn't.
We know this. We all know this. People forget, though, that he did play at Duke, and he was a star point guard. They also forget he started in blue chips as an Indiana point guard. Those are 2 knocks in my book. Let's talk about why he's a bad guy. And it's not just because they won 9 games and it's their best start since 1975-76 season. It is because the last time they got an ESPN Top 100 recruit, Mark Titus, you want to guess what year that was?
James Harden, 2008.
James Harden 2007 is not the right answer. The answer is Jahai Carson 2011, but nobody remembers who that is. The last real meaningful player that they got was James Harden 2007. Shout out to you, Herb Sindek. But since then, we've had a drought, as they would say in Arizona.
In the desert, yeah.
In the desert, yes, with the Sun Devils. Herm Edwards, if you don't know that the Sun Devils is the mascot, maybe you shouldn't have taken the job. I don't know. Talk to your agent. Romello White, 2016, last year, Herb Sindek. Just kidding. Bobby Hurley gets his first top 100 recruit, Romello White. And then this year, he gets Remy Martin, not the drink, the player, and Kamani Lawrence, both in 2017. So 2 top 100 recruits, 4-star guys. So in his 2 years he's been there, he's already gotten 3 top 100 recruits, more than they've gotten since, let's say, 2010 era. They got 2 that year. That's interesting. I just want to say that, point that out, and that's why he's my bad guy of the week. And I also want to say this about Bobby Hurley. This guy, I'm not knocking Bobby Hurley. I do think he's a grinder. I do think he really does work hard. I do think that Bobby Hurley loves basketball. And I do think that he got the raw end of the deal with that whole Duke run. Christian Laettner just yelled at him, berated him. Coach K berated him all the time.
There was one game in the 92 run that Hurley basically saved them. Laettner was trash. I forget what game it was.
It was the national championship. Yeah, Christian Laettner came out in the first half, and they were terrible.
He had like 7 turnovers in the first half.
Yeah, and he looked like he forgot to play basketball. There's a lot of people that think that he had some money problems and he was throwing the game, and I don't know. Maybe we should look into that. But Bobby Hurley goes in at halftime and challenges him. I think this was in the 30 for 30 actually with the Fab Five, and he's basically like, "You've been riding me all 4 of these years, and it's my time to tell you that you're ruining my season right now." And he came out in the second half, and Christian Laettner turned it around, and the rest is history. Duke won. All that to say, my only point about this situation is Remy Martin. Where did he play high school?
I'm going to say he played at one of these prep schools. Like, I honestly don't know. I would guess, like, what's the Vegas one? The Finley Prep or something?
Finley Prep. It's basically that, but it's in California. And guess who his teammate was?
Who's his teammate?
Marvin Bagley III.
Huh. So, hold on.
Wait, what?
Marvin Bagley. So they're both from California.
Mm-hmm.
Marvin Bagley goes to Duke.
Mm-hmm.
Remy Martin goes to
Arizona State
to play for a Duke guy. Huh. Meanwhile,
Sierra Canyon High School for people that don't know.
Meanwhile, every other Coach K disciple goes to the private school. We've talked about this before.
So
Interesting.
big for public schools, big for the Duke brand, growing into the public university standard. So now Bobby Hurley is like really branching out from Duke. So proud of him for that. But I will say,
is Arizona State public?
Yeah.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that.
I connected the dots here.
I was making a joke. I mean, Arizona State has
I'm locked in on Bobby Hurley right now. I have no time for comedy. I am putting the piece. I'm like a freaking Hardy Boy over here, and I'm trying to let people know what's going on with these bags. Some bags are being dropped, folks. I don't know.
My God.
He's hurling bags. That's why his name's Bobby Hurley.
If you tune into this podcast expecting anything else but Tate to be shot out of a cannon with Duke losing and Bobby Hurley dropping bags, the stars have aligned for Tate to just be, oh my God.
Good job, Bobby Hurley. Bad guy of the week.
A couple thoughts. One, this was the first Arizona State game I watched. I've proudly not watched Arizona State. I've been not a disbeliever. Like, it's just, I don't know.
What did you say? They were intriguing and now they have your attention? Something like that. You tweeted something
they
like
had my interest, but now they have my attention.
Very good.
That's what it was.
I enjoyed that.
It was like, I had my eye on them, but I wasn't going to go out of my way to watch them. I needed to, and then they played Kansas. I even said it on here. I was like, show me something against Kansas. They showed me something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a believer now. I would like to pump the brakes like slightly, and I don't mean to like piss on that. I'm not trying to say that. I mean, I was obviously wrong. Arizona State is a very good team. I should have been paying attention to them more. But this feels a little overreaction to me. Like I said, I was talking about this with Kansas when I've already kind of said this, that going into Allen Fieldhouse and winning, it's usually a big deal. I'm not really sure it's that big of a deal. I think like Arizona State is primed for, I mean, they play 5 guys, 6 guys maybe. They have 2 big guys who are both like 6'8", 215 maybe. That's pretty much
the classic tweener.
Right. They don't play defense. They were ranked 154th on KenPom defensively. They're ranked like 36th on KenPom.
KenPom hates them.
KenPom completely hates them.
Mm-hmm.
They have no size, no depth, no defense. I'm not really. By the way, Kansas has no size and no depth, and they're okay defense. But
they beat Kansas at their own game. It was guard play.
Yeah.
They have the 2 best, like Trey Holder. I mean, they have 2 of the best guards in the country. Like one of the best backcourts in the country.
Right.
Which is good for an NCAA tournament run, obviously, if you have 2 good guards, but if you have no rebounding.
And you have no defense, you have to stop the other, because at some point, these threes are not going to fall. Your jumpers aren't going to fall. What are you going to do? That said, I do believe in Arizona State, but this talk of, they got 5 number 1 votes in the AP poll, Tate. 5. So Florida State goes on the road, plays a top 5 team, beats the hell out of them, is undefeated, beats the hell out of a top 5 team on the road. They jump all the way up to like 18th or something?
Because they chalked it up to a rivalry loss.
Yeah, it's a rivalry. But when Arizona State does it, now everyone's talking about Jeff Borzello puts him at number 1 on his ESPN Power Rankings. Jeff Goodman, who's an Arizona alum, strip his alum status from Arizona, by the way. I'm more of an Arizona alum than Jeff Goodman. I go to Arizona I get drunk at dirtbags all the time. Tate and I are going to get drunk at dirtbags in like a week or so.
Yes.
At the UConn game.
Yes.
Strip Jeff Goodman's.
We watched Last Man on Earth, live in Tucson. We love Tucson.
We drink Arizona iced tea, goddammit. Like, we're all about,
We said Arizona was the Duke of this season with their drama.
Yeah, these guys saying Arizona State should be number 1. I mean, just pump the brakes a little bit. Arizona State, I settling them at 5. I think they're fine at 5. I think they've deserved.
It's a Notre Dame spot. It's basically like a pat on the back. Now you're a top 5 team.
It becomes this discussion of do you really think Arizona State is the best team in the country, or do they have just the best resume? Because they do have the best resume. I think if the NCAA tournament started today, Arizona State should be the number 1 overall seed, like based on what they've done so far.
Which is my question about the power rankings, because I saw that they were ranked number 1 in the power rankings, and I'm guessing that's the formula. It's based on resume.
Certainly not my power rankings, by the way.
No. The standard, not hashtag power rankings, just power rankings.
Not quite as much.
Not capitalized.
Yeah, I think that's what I mean, let's be honest. They're just like getting excited. It's like something different. Duke loses. Arizona State's undefeated. They're winning. They have a very, very good team. Those guards are going to torch a ton of people. The Pac-12, as we've said, is garbage. Arizona State they could very easily win the Pac-12. But if I'm an Arizona State fan, I'm still a little nervous about the end of the month playing at Arizona, knowing that we have 0 big guys and we have to play against DeAndre Ayton.
So here's my question to you. Do we wrap up 2017 with Arizona State being undefeated? And I will put that out to the world. If you think
2018, what are you saying? This season,
this season, the 2017, to get through, not to like once 2018 hits, the calendar strikes, we're in a new year. Doesn't matter. But I'm saying they play on the 30th. Are they going to stay undefeated?
Will
through
they be undefeated
2017?
January 1st?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm leaning towards no.
I'm leaning towards no, and I think it may not even be Arizona.
Yeah.
I think they may lose before.
That's the concern I have with these teams. And this is like sort of the same thing I said about Florida. It's the same thing I said about Kansas when both of those teams were rolling, is that when you just rely so much on offense and so much on jump shots and you play no defense and you have no depth, at some point it's going to come back to bite you. And
sometimes you just don't make shots.
Sometimes you don't make shots. Right now you're making shots, Arizona State. Good for you. What happens if you don't make shots? So I'm gonna say I respect him. I think they're good. I'm just trying to caution Arizona State fans. So when the rug gets pulled out from under you, you're not shocked. Like, just kind of be smart about all this, and don't get your hopes up too high just yet. Don't be drinking the Kool-Aid, the ESPN #1, all of that stuff. Be very, very excited. This is by all means, Arizona State basketball has been irrelevant for a very long time for most of the country. They are now relevant. That is a very exciting thing. But just, kind of pump the brakes on, like, Final Four.
You should be upset that you're not ranked above Duke. I mean, you should be the number one Devils in the country right now. The fact that Duke fell from 1 to 4 after losing at Boston College is incredulous.
Bobby Hurley goes for the Devils. He goes from
of course. He loves the Devils.
Interesting. So we haven't even gotten to my bad guy.
This is the best. We should say this before I let you just go ahead and go all in on this bad guy. This is going to be an extended bad guy segment because this man may have set the tone for what any and every bad guy wishes that they could be.
This man said, I got fired for doing my job too well. I was too good of a bad guy. So, first of all, this man that we're speaking of is Tom Jurich, the former athletic director at the University of Louisville. A big story was just, I don't know if it was, if you say it broke on ESPN, I don't think there was like really news.
I think it's a feature in ESPN the magazine.
Yeah, an ESPN the magazine feature, basically outlining how Tom Jurich took what was just a tiny school. Like Louisville, basically when he got there was the men's basketball program and nothing else. It wasn't even like a respectable school. It might as well have been like an online school.
People just thought about Crum in the 80s, basically.
They just basically had, the only thing they had was a basketball program. This guy took him, made Lamar Jackson wins the Heisman, the baseball team becomes good.
Everyone remembers Teddy Two Gloves with the Sugar Bowl win.
Right. On down the line, he kind of revolutionizes sports in Louisville, and in doing so kind of revolutionizes or rejuvenates, whatever the word is, the university as a whole. So this whole article on ESPN was about Tom Jurich.
Sorta.
But yeah, like that was the outside. That was like the starting point. And then when the FBI thing hits, like now they're starting to like kind of peel back the layers. Yeah, I was just setting the stage, Tate. Now let's dig into what the real story is. Where do we start?
I think we start with the idea that we were on the verge of Adidas and Louisville. And everyone knows sort of the background of the story. I mean, Adidas and Louisville were basically in the bag for each other. It was a love at first sight. I think we should start at the origin story of Tom Jurich, right? How does he get to Louisville? Who is he? Where does he come from? And why does this situation play out the way it does?
He comes from Colorado State, is that right?
1998, Colorado State. He is the AD at Colorado State.
And in this article, he says he takes the job and his wife starts crying when she gets to Louisville. She literally starts crying because she basically can't believe that Louisville is such a shithole. I mean, those are her words, basically, not mine.
Yeah, she said that the stadium at Colorado State, they had the Rocky Mountains in the background, and she had this beautiful view at games. And then she goes to Louisville, and this is 1998 Louisville, not what it looks like today. And she said that the backdrop was 2 silos in the distance.
Yeah, I've seen those silos, by the way. Right off 65, you got the big...
I have as well.
Yeah, University of Louisville written on the side of them. You're like, oh, wow, this is Louisville. Cool. This is, These guys won national championships?
So to say the least, they had some things to figure out.
So basically, Tom Jurich, he gets in bed with Adidas.
In 1998. That's how it starts.
Yeah, it all starts there. He basically... he basically represents like all the worst things about college sports. Him and Rick Pitino are perfect for each other. He strikes me as a guy who, not to get like, we try to stick to sports here on this podcast, but I get vibes from him of the people that hate capitalism would probably hate Tom Jurich, who like his whole defense to everything is like, I thought
Look at how much money I made.
Yeah, I made a ton of money. Like, I thought I was doing my job. I have no morals whatsoever. I built this arena I had a shady deal that screwed over taxpayers, but I made us money.
And he says he's the victim.
Yeah. Like,
why are you mad at me? Why don't you go raise your own money?
Yeah. There are a few quotes that stood out to me. I want to from the article.
Please.
The chair of the Pan-African Studies Department, I'm not sure if that's what that exactly means, the Pan-African, if that's different from African-American Studies like you guys have at North Carolina, or if that's like sort of the same department. Just
I think they changed the name of that department to AAAD now.
Yeah.
More incognito.
The chair of Louisville's Pan-African Studies Department was quoted in this article as saying the system is, quote, pimping kids out. And I thought that was a great choice of words for what went on at Louisville and kind of how everything's being handled. Because like the whole point is
is it because they actually had pimps on campus?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was a great choice of words. So Jurich, again, there's so much that goes into the article. Like he is. The media thing. I was thinking about that. He hires the firm basically to stifle the media, the criticism of him. In Louisville, we got our buddy, our friend of the program, Matt Jones, is quoted in there talking about how he gets calls saying he can't say certain things about Louisville. Jurich is basically just like a mob boss of Louisville. Like, I don't know how else to explain him. Like, the guy just runs the entire thing. He understands that Louisville has no pro sports. He gets all these people to pay to donate money. The one guy, I saw one article, another quote in there is a guy, Dr. Mark Lynn, who is, I don't even know what this means, an optometry. The article says he's an optometry chain owner, which, like, what does he, like, own Dr. Tavel's?
Well, there's, like, eye care centers, right? So, like, a lot of these places, I mean, I know in North Carolina there's a lot of these, like, chain eye care centers, like a Chipotle, but they're just, like, actually places for, like, eye.
Apparently it's a lucrative business because this man has a lot of money, and he says, his quote was, I can give $5 million to stem cell research, and it's going to help stem cell research. Yeah, that seems pretty good. I don't know. That seems like a good thing to do. But he says, I give $5 million to a soccer stadium and it's going to help everything. So that's the mindset that Tom Jurich has established in Louisville, is that sports rule everything. If you have money, don't give them to stem cell research. Don't try to cure cancer. Don't try to advance academics. Give them to me. I can build the athletic program. I can make myself rich. I can hire my son and pay him $130,000 to be do God knows what.
Yeah.
I can put my daughter on Adidas pay staff on payroll.
And then pull her out just as soon as the FBI decides they want to come and get her a job in Portland.
We can set all of this up, and then we'll help everything that way. That's the smart play. He convinced everybody to do that.
Let's talk about what he built. So he goes to Louisville campus and parts of the city. So the Riverfront neighborhood is where they built the KFC Yum Center, which we'll talk specifically what happens with the KFC Yum Center. Yeah. But they have Cardinal Park, which the track, soccer, and softball stadiums, all new stadiums that get built. He gets them to join when they joined the conference. They're in Conference USA at the time. They joined the ACC in 2014. That was a big deal for them. I think they brought in like $50 million, $47.7 million to be exact. I'm seeing right now, first 2 years in the ACC. So, my God, I mean, just think about that. I mean, that's insane. And so all this money is being filtered into the program, and the KFC Yum Center is really at the center of everything, and that's no pun there. Let's talk about how that is split up and how they got the funds spread out.
Basically, to not bore the hell out of everybody listening, according to this article, they build the KFC Yum Center, and like 75% of it is built with taxpayer money. Mm-hmm. And listen, if you know anything about me, I have a certain stance on taxpayers paying for stadiums, and this is what I think, Tate.
Billionaires should pay for their own fucking football stadiums.
So Louisville gets 90% of the revenue from that. This was in the article also, is that not only are the taxpayers paying for the arena, which, by the way, according to this article, is eventually going to cost taxpayers like $1 billion, literally $1 billion, because...
And that's not an exaggeration. Like, this isn't Dr. Evil saying $1 billion. No, like, this is real life.
It's going to cost them $1 billion, and Louisville gets 90% of the revenues that are generated from the stadium, the University of Louisville. It's unbelievable.
So let's talk about what makes money in a stadium. Suite sales, especially like suite sales that are sold out to corporations. So a FedEx or Papa John's or KFC or whoever wants to buy out suites and then bring people in to a Louisville basketball games, there's a lot of money in that.
Right.
And that would be something that you would think they would take that revenue out and be able to put it in. But no, 100% of the sweet sales go back to the athletic department. So they're taking all of that money out.
And you're thinking, that's good for that, but isn't that good for Louisville? No, because here's the other thing about Tom Jurich. Apparently, the dude just like keeps all the finances at Louisville hidden. They're saying in the article, like people that are supposed to be in the know on deals being made have no idea what the hell's going on. Like some guy who's on like the athletic committee, something or other, didn't even realize they were signing a deal with Adidas until it was announced, because Jurich is just kind of doing these side deals, dropping bags left and right. It's unbelievable. The guy, and again, it all comes full circle. He goes, I'm the victim here. I was just doing I made us money. Look at what we were before I got here. Look at what we are now.
I love that us in Tom Jurich's mind, it's like him and his family.
Yeah, right.
He's like, I made us family. I made us. I will say this. The best thing about what they brought in from the KFC Yum Center, you're thinking, well, sweet sales, whatever, that's fine. They're making those deals on their own. That maybe they don't deserve to go. And then you're thinking, well, at least they'll get concessions. Now, they don't even get all of concessions. They get half.
Right. I don't understand how, I will say.
That's why your hot dog's $18.
Again, this is back to like the point I was making about the capitalism situation, where there are people who, like the guys who get hard-ons for like trading on Wall Street, or you're like a CEO or whatever. You hear that and you're just like, the man's a genius. What's the problem here? Like, he convinced people to give him that much money, and he set up this deal with the Yum Center. Like, we should be applauding this man. And at some point, when you realize that all of this is built around the facade of amateurism and college athletics, it becomes ridiculous. I mean, this does go on everywhere. I don't mean to pick on Louisville.
We're not picking on. We're not specifically picking on them, but we're picking on Jurich and the fact that like we now have the full details of the story.
Yeah, and it doesn't go on as blatant as this.
Yes.
Like most places they kind of like fake it or kind of give like a. I
think a lot of us like have like the worst case scenario, which is this. And then there's like the best case scenario, which is like these are just kids that want to go to school and also play basketball in their free time. And like usually it's somewhere muddied in the middle, but this is like the extreme.
This is the polar opposite of what college sports was designed for. And it just spits in the face of like we can't afford to pay players. How do we pay players?
Yeah.
We don't have any money for this.
They're like, Tom, what about that $18 million you just put away? He's like, runs.
They even quoted like a humanities professor in the piece.
Yeah,
and
please.
She was talking about, was it she or he? I don't remember.
It was she, and she was talking about her salary. So she said that her current salary was, or a few years back, her salary was $60,000, and she was ecstatic that was her salary, whatever. And it gets bumped up to $66,000, and it was like a highlight of her career. Like she had worked herself to have tenure at the university. She got a $6,000 raise. That was huge for her family and everything. And he comes out in response to the situation. He said, there's plenty of great alumni in the humanities department. Why didn't she reach out and try to raise some money for them? That's what I did.
Right. And
like Adidas is going to the humanities department to throw some money.
Again, this happens everywhere, this attitude. But the whole point of college athletic, like college sports are supposed to be built, like academics is the foundation, and then you dress it up with athletics. Like the whole point of athletics is like to give these kids an extracurricular to work on to become better men and to, represent our university in a great way out there on the battlefield of basketball. Like that was like the initial point of this. And it's completely been turned on its head. And
what's hilarious is like that's never existed. Even if you went back to like 1957 and you're like, that was the basketball I liked. Bill Russell got a bag drop to go to San Francisco.
Yeah.
Wilt Chamberlain got a bag drop to go to Kansas.
This was my favorite quote of the entire piece, and then we can kind of move on from this. So State Representative Jim Wayne apparently is this guy who his district includes. Louisville is in the district that he represents. He says this: I don't think Tom Jurich gets this, and I don't think Jim Ramsey, who was the president of Louisville, got it. The University of Louisville is a state facility, and it is not their kingdom. They are not the kings and the princes and the nobility in the kingdom. They're temporary stewards of these programs, and instead of seeing this as something that they should be responsible for and hold high ethical standards as they execute their jobs, they're doing just the opposite. That is a boss quote. That is a badass quote, and kind of sums up the situation. Is that they view, instead of trying to like advance the betterment of the University of Louisville, it's like, this is my own playground. I'm going to make myself rich. I'm going to just
And let's look at an example of that. This man, Tom Jurich, paid $180,000 for ESPNU to produce a documentary called The Year of the Cardinal to go back and make a whole film about how great they were in the year of 2014 with the Sugar Bowl and everything that went on with them. So there you go. It's
incredible. Oh, speaking of Louisville, we didn't mention this.
Can I read this headline to you? Read the headline. Read the headline.
The headline of Rick Pitino very humiliated, very hurt by Papa John comments. We forgot to,
folks. We couldn't make this up if we tried.
We forgot to bring that up last, whatever the last pod was. That is like the greatest. The problem with all the Louisville stuff, and it's going to be a problem for a while because what we've seen so far suggests this isn't going away anytime soon. Is that Rick Pitino and Tom Jurich will not shut up. They will not go away. They are the victims in all of this. They will never see what was wrong with what they did and what they have been doing.
And they'll never admit it.
They will never admit that they knew anything. And it's honestly just comical at this point.
And not to pick on Rick Pitino and Tom Jurich, Louisville still went ahead with this $160 million deal with Adidas.
Yeah,
without those guys there, they're still taking the money. So it's not just those two guys. Louisville itself is still fine to take the money.
God love it. And by the way, we should say all of this in the end, like Louisville has been cheating. They've been dropping bags. They've been hiring prostitutes. They're hiring Bobby Petrino, who's having an affair and crashing his motorcycle. They're hiring Rick Pitino, who's having affairs and paying for abortions and what have you. All of this shit. They're like Louisville, if we're going to be honest, has represented as an athletic department like basically the scuzziest shit in college athletics.
And they just kept rolling.
And 30 years from now, no one's going to care. They're going to still be in the ACC. They're still going to have a ton of money. They're going to have great programs. It's kind of all worth it, if we're being honest. And that's the part where I think Tom Jurich is like, hate me all you want. Like, I did my job. You're welcome. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I mean, I don't know what you want from me.
And he's in Clearwater, Florida right now in his beautiful house. He has another house in Colorado Springs. I mean, he's going to be okay.
Did you see that he, it also said in here that the interim president has him into the office to talk about his resignation. He goes, basically the story says the president has him sit down. He says, I want you to resign. Jurich is like, I'm not going to do that. So the guy just hands him the letter and says, well, you're taking a leave of absence. And Jurich is like, cool. And just gets up and leaves. And that was like pretty much their meeting. And that was how he got fired.
This is not the University of Louisville that I know.
All right, let's close out with some shout outs. Shout out to the Ball brothers.
Just signed a deal in Lithuania for the worst team in Lithuania.
We don't like to talk about the Balls on here, but we do like to talk about the Balls. I mean, we don't really take a stance either way. It's like sometimes there's news worth talking about. I think like
they're not really college basketball oriented. You know, Lonzo played at UCLA, but it was for like what 5 months.
It's so polarizing. Like everyone, you have to take like a hard stance where you're like, oh, I love this. I love LeVar Ball. He's so funny, and this is so funny and awesome. And then other people are like, I will not talk about that on my program. I'm above that. We're kind of neither. We're just like, if it's funny, we'll talk about it. If it's not, we'll ignore it. But yeah, they signed in Lithuania.
And let's say this is funny.
This is pretty funny.
Could you imagine having your kid and saying, we're going to play in sunny Southern California, UCLA and Brentwood, and then you don't do that and you take them to 30-degree weather in Lithuania? That's hilarious.
Exciting stuff.
Very good stuff.
Malcolm Brogdon's birthday today. Our favorite player, our favorite college player in a very long time, Malcolm Brogdon.
The president.
He was amazing.
He can literally do no wrong.
He got me into Virginia basketball. I'm still paying for that.
Malcolm Brogdon is the Ralph Sampson of the 21st century for Virginia basketball.
Yeah. Dare I say that Malcolm Brogdon is more important than Ralph Sampson? Whew. Dare I say it? I didn't say I did say it. I said dare I. I didn't say it.
Truth?
I didn't say it. It's also Roy Hibbert's birthday.
Congrats, Roy Hibbert. Friend of the program. Friend of the podcast.
Friend of the program. I grabbed dinner with Roy Hibbert at a Beverly Hills Steakhouse recently. Those of you who listen to the podcast, connect some dots with that one. I'm going to go ahead and move on. How about Roy Williams? Shout out to Roy Williams for saying that cheaters should be banned. It's very encouraging for me to see someone in Roy Williams' position who has been let's be honest, he's been a victim of cheating, Tate.
Been a victim.
By the cheating.
Been victimized by the media, been victimized by you people out there who are uninformed and cannot read.
Tate, all jokes aside, the optics of this are hysterical, are they not?
They're unbelievable.
Roy Williams just gets away with the biggest academic scandal.
If you told me in 2011 that Roy Williams at one time in 2017 was going to be able to call out cheaters, I would have said, sign me up.
Roy Williams thinks cheaters should be banned for life.
Yes.
And that's a very strong stance.
It's a very good man stance.
I did notice that he waited until after the decision that the NCAA let Carolina off the hook, and then he decided to say that. That was interesting. Interesting timing there. We forgot to shout out Ball State for beating Notre Dame.
That's
that
awesome.
That was a huge win for Ball State. Other funny thing I saw, Indiana loses at Louisville. I don't know. I think you saw this. I think I sent this to you.
It's a great video.
Archie Miller comes into the press conference after the game, and David Padgett, Louisville's coach, who's 6'11", had just been at the podium, and the microphone was basically where it would be for a 6'11" guy to speak into it. And Archie Miller walks in, and the microphone, he basically he has to stand on his tiptoes to grab the microphone and pull it
It was
down.
like he was at the monkey bars and he had to jump up.
Yeah, look that video up. Everyone listening, I invite you to look that up. It was pretty funny. Archie Miller, it made him look like he was like 5 feet tall. It was pretty funny. What else? Oh, Indiana. If we're talking Indiana basketball, I've been talking Indiana this whole time. Feel free to jump in with shout-outs if you have any. The Taylor Silent Night thing. Tate had no idea what the Taylor Silent Night tradition was.
I just watched a video with you. It's insane.
So if you don't know about this and you're listening to this,
it's Seth Davis's nightmare, to be quite honest.
Taylor University, it is. Taylor University is where Chris Holtman played. It's where John Gross, former coach at Illinois, currently coaches at Akron. He played there as well. They were teammates at Taylor. Small school in Indiana. They started a tradition. It feels like about a decade ago it's been going on. I'm not really sure when it actually started.
I was hoping it'd be longer than that.
It's been a little while. They started a tradition where the last game that the students are on campus for before Christmas break, they do what they call the Silent Night game, where all the students stay completely silent, no clapping, no talking, no anything, until the 10th point is scored by Taylor, the home team that they're cheering for. So as soon as Taylor gets 10 points on the board, the place then erupts like they just hit a shot to win the national championship at the buzzer. And they did that tradition. I showed Tate it for the first time. So if you don't have any idea what I'm talking about, look it up. It's pretty cool.
They have to clear the court out and put everyone back.
I didn't know that was. I don't think that's always been the case where they storm the court. But this year, the 10th point came on a free throw, and the fans stormed the court, and it was pretty
the
cool.
referees did not know what to do about it.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. So shout out to them. What else? Do you have any shout outs you want?
We should shout out Bob Huggins in the old Big East.
Oh, yeah.
We have some quotes there. Bob Huggins plays Pittsburgh, West Virginia, Pittsburgh. For people that don't know, was the Backyard Brawl, right? That's what it's called?
Backyard Brawl.
Yeah, so they play again.
Mostly known for football, I think.
Yeah,
I think that was like how the Backyard Brawl is the football
especially
thing,
like back in the Rich Rod days. That was always fun with those games. I remember them spoiling Rich Rod a couple times. But Huggins plays in that game. That people have said it was his awesome game, awesome environment at Pitt with Stallball. And then Huggins, after the game, you have some quotes, right, that he says about the old Big East?
Well, so basically what happens is this is the first Pitt loses 69-60. And the atmosphere was great. The Kevin Stallings said something like, "I was always told for years that we had a great atmosphere here. Now I'm starting to see it." Like that, I think that was like his quote.
Such a backhanded compliment. It's awesome.
Yeah. So, which by the way, I've been to a game at Pitt. It is a great. I was at the game when Tyler Ennis. This is another. I'm falling victim to one of my other favorite media tropes where you're like, I was at that game, but I'm gonna do it anyway. I was at the game when Tyler Ennis hit the half court shot, or just inside half court, when Syracuse was undefeated and Pitt had him on the ropes, and then Ennis hits the shot to keep Syracuse undefeated. But the atmosphere is insane. It actually is a great atmosphere at the Pete when they're good. Pitt is not good right now. But it was a rivalry. They haven't played since 2012. People were excited. West Virginia's ranked. So everyone like around the Pitt program was like, man, it was cool to see the atmosphere great again. And Bob Huggins is like, you call that a great atmosphere? And then he does a thing. One of our favorite moves. Conjures up memories of the old Big East. Says back when we used to play each other in the old Big East.
God,
that was
the old
wild.
Big East. Yes.
That was wild.
That was basketball.
Bob Huggins remembers when Georgetown went to Manley Fieldhouse and the Syracuse fans were throwing oranges at Patrick Ewing. Bob Huggins remembers that. That was the old Big East. So shout out to Bob Huggins for that.
And shout out to the old Big East because we have Syracuse-Georgetown this Saturday. People, please tune into that. That'll be Pat Ewing's first big test. We'll see if Georgetown is really...
shout out Georgetown. Undefeated
still undefeated.
Georgetown is undefeated. Duke is not.
And if anyone can figure out why Pat Ewing is always with the Miami Heat players or somewhere in Miami, I don't know. But please let me know.
Is this
Tweet
a
at
thing?
me. Yeah, he was with Alonzo Mourning. I've already seen him down with Spoelstra before, like since the season started. I don't know if he understands that. Maybe he's taking recruiting trips to Miami. That's the way to flip it.
I almost said something really dumb.
What, Ewing and Mourning
they did
not play together.
Yeah. Mourning and Mutombo did.
Yes, those were the two fives.
Right. I knew two of them did, yeah. You get them all mixed up. Before we go, the Kyle +1 dilemma.
These are closeouts. So we had shout-outs. These are closeouts.
These are closeouts. Before we go, the Kyle +1 dilemma, if you've been following along, Kyle got a +1, our producer, for the holiday party for the Ringer, which is happening this Friday.
It was arranged by Tom Jurich. We're not sure how he figured it out.
We put it to a tweet. Kyle does not have have a romantic interest in his life right now. He wanted to bring a buddy. We didn't know if that was okay. We didn't know if that was allowed. We put it to a Twitter poll vote. The people, the listeners of One Shiny Podcast say, bring the friend.
Bring the friend, Kyle.
Kyle, are you going to do this? Does Kyle have a microphone?
Yes, Kyle, bring a friend.
Kyle, what have you decided?
I got so scared between producer Jim and all the other buzz going around here that I declined to use my +1.
What? Wait, what was the point of
Kyle?
What was the point of the poll?
Kyle, do you have to listen to the people?
No. We're going to fix this.
Yes, we'll figure this out.
We just had every
Kyle,
single...
I'm going to bring a random person and make it your +1.
Kyle, you just spit in the face of every single person listening to this. Are you trying to sabotage our... what the...
I'm just trying to have a job by the end of the new year, guys.
And we're trying to make sure that you have fun.
Yeah, what the hell?
More closeouts. Duffel and Duffel. We found out today that duffel bag can be spelled two separate ways. You can spell it Duffel or Duffle. Let us know which one you use. I use
put that
LE.
to Twitter poll?
Yeah, that's a good Twitter poll.
We'll put that on Twitter poll.
Because we are duffel bag boys and we are duffel bag connoisseurs.
Also, we are on the 3-on-3 committee. I don't know if we talked about this. People thought we were joking. We're not joking. There's a 3-on-3.
I love how everyone thinks we're always joking.
Yeah, there's a 3-on-3 tournament happening at the Final Four this year. Tate and I have been asked to help pick the teams. We are taking it very seriously.
And possibly more.
They released the committee members today. They made it public. There are a ton of nerds on this committee. I'm really concerned about that.
Except for Lenardi. Lenardi, I will listen to you and follow you anywhere.
Only if he's wearing his turtleneck.
Yes.
That's the only time I listen to Lenardi is if you got the turtleneck on. And then we're excited to say this. I'm gonna just go out and say it. I don't know if we've been given the green light or not, but Tate and I.
This may be Memphis 2.0. And if you would only get that if you listen to T-Dub.
If you listen to T-Dub, yeah. Tate and I are going to New Orleans for Ohio State, my alma mater, where I played basketball and won Big Ten championships, versus North Carolina, Tate's alma mater, where he took African American studies classes and got B-minuses.
One.
They are playing in New Orleans. We are currently in Los Angeles. I'm going back home to Ohio for Christmas, so I'm going to drive home anyway. I have my car out here. I'm driving home. So we figured, why not drive to New Orleans first? And that's what we're going to do. So Tate and I are doing a road trip, the One Shining Podcast road trip extravaganza. We're driving through Tucson. We're going to stop at Arizona versus UConn on December 21st.
Yep.
We're then going to basically drive straight through Texas. We don't really have time to stop there because on the 23rd, Ohio State plays North Carolina, and we are going to be there. We are going to do podcasts on the road. We are going to do periscopes on the road. We are going to drink Arizona iced tea on the road.
So much.
We are going to fight on the road because I found out that Tate does not like country music somehow, even though he's from the sticks in North Carolina. Makes no sense. So, yeah, I just wanted we're putting that out there to get the people excited about that because we're excited and we just wanted to share that and to keep an eye on that.
We're going to Dirtbags.
But more importantly, yeah, we're definitely going to Dirtbags. We might do a live podcast in Tucson from Dirtbags. That's one of my favorite bars in the world. It's where Rob Gronkowski...
Tate will be also producing and hosting on the road, so there's no telling what will happen. So we'll see.
So we're putting it out there for people to get excited. A little pre-promotion, if you will, but also because we've only been like 85% greenlit on this, so we're just kind of...
And that's
in
a
other
stretch.
words, Kyle, edit all this out.
Yeah, in other words, Kyle, we might have to edit all this out, but no, we're putting it out there, so you put the pressure on the people, and yeah. So that's that.
All right, final thought.
What's your final thought?
I don't know. Let's do it. Let's go to New Orleans and make a road trip out of it. We'll call it the return, and we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
North Carolina, Ohio State, it's worth it.
Also, if for those of you who listen to this and aren't really into college basketball and are waiting for us to tell you what to watch, there's like basically no good games this week.
Yeah.
So take the week off. Watch the NBA. Villanova plays at Temple. Big Five. Villanova had a close one with LaSalle. The Big Five is one of those, like, Villanova is too good, I think. The Big Five to me feels like the old Big East, where it's just like everybody
Anything
talks
could
about how it's, anything could happen. I was going to say it was relevant in the 80s and 90s, and like I'm just trying to find a reason to care still. I really want to get into
saying
Big
you
Five.
miss John Chaney that much?
Villanova's won like 40-something in a row. I swear it's 35. I honestly think it's 35 in a row that they've won. They've like 7 straight years they have beaten every other team in Philadelphia. It's hard for me to care. Is Villanova good for women's basketball?
We don't know.
It's like the UConn.
Yeah, exactly. We don't know.
So that's that. Thanks for listening. Follow us at Tate Frazier, at Club Trillion, at One Shining Pod on Twitter if you're into that sort of thing. Follow us on Twitter. You got to get that follow because we're about to have some fun on the road. So check that out. Until then, save the crew.